We'll wait.
It's good to have everybody with us today for the briefing session of the Forsyth County Board of Commissioners. Today's briefing is for the meeting of June 24th, 2021. And to get us started on this project, I'd like to introduce our county manager, Dudley Watts.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yep, so basically the only other item we have today are just to introduce the items for consideration, for the June 24th meeting. You should have those in the system in front of you. Let me pull those up. All right, and so the first item are approval of the minutes for the meeting of June 3rd and June 7th, 2021. The public sessions, the next item, item 3, is a resolution authorizing execution of an amendment between Forsyth County and SALEM Solutions, LLC, and it provides temporary clinical staffing at the Cleveland Avenue Dental Clinic. And I believe Adam Pendleberry, business officer with Public Health, is going to review this.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. This item is for a contract amendment with SALEM Solutions, who provide temporary staff at our dental clinic. This will increase the contract to $79,500. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have about this contract.
Questions for Adam? Comments?
Have we been contracting for that all along? For the
yes.
extra support there? Or are those positions we're not capable, we can't hire, not enough, can't attract? I'm kind of maybe I'm a little bit out of whack here, but this is our dental clinic.
Yes, sir.
And so why are we not able to just hire people?
So we are asking for amendment to the contract because there are, I believe, 3 vacant positions in our dental clinic right now: a dentist, a hygienist, and a dental assistant. We've also had some FMLA position or FMLA leave positions. But yes, whenever we have vacancies in the dental clinic or we have an employee leave for an extended amount of time.
So they're just they're just filling in. They're
Yes,
fill-ins. Sir. I'm sorry, this temporary nature, I missed that.
Additional comments or questions? I think the service that you provide is needed, and it's also being taken care of in a very professional manner.
Great.
I've been here for a long time. I remember where you had to start and where you are now, and it's terrific.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Adam. Agenda item 4 also deals with temporary staffing. It's a resolution authorizing execution of a contract for temporary staffing services for the Sheriff's Department. Turn it over to Randy Hunsaker.
Thank you, Dudley, Mr. Chairman, board members. This item before you today is probably familiar, as we've been using temporary positions in our permits units for a long time because of significant increases associated with pistol purchase permits, concealed carry permits, and fingerprinting. And as we've also talked about previously, using these temps is a lot less expensive than using a county position, and the temps work out really well in this particular area here as well. We are currently using Bradley personnel, but because of performance issues, we would like to switch to Express Services, who matched Bradley permits markup rate. The attached resolution, therefore, authorizes execution of a contract not to exceed $65,000 to Express Services. Funds are also appropriated in the FY22 budget to cover the cost of this contract, and we're not asking for any additional funds. Thank you so much. Are there any questions?
Any comments or questions?
Yeah. What liability or any other expense other than salary are you required to pay?
We only are paying the hourly rate, the number of hours they pay, plus the market, no, nothing else.
Okay, thank you. So I've noticed that to be a trick that they throw at you now. Do the hour thing and then the expense on top of that.
Yeah, we're good.
Additional questions or comments? Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Randy. Agenda item 5 is a resolution authorizing execution of an agreement between Forsyth County and GenProbe Sales and Services, subsidiary of HOLOGIC Incorporated, for test kit and supplies for something for Public Health's laboratory. And I'll let Denise Price review this.
That was a fabulous introduction. Thank you, Dudley. Good afternoon, Commissioners. As Dudley said, this is to authorize execution of an agreement with GenProbe Sales and Services. You hear us refer to them probably as HOLOGIC. As you may be aware, the Forsyth County Department of Public Health operates a high-complexity molecular laboratory. On a traditional year, our general services are about 100,000 tests per year, and much of that testing is done using a HOLOGIC Panther. This agreement provides for supplies and materials that are necessary to conduct that testing. be happy to answer any questions.
Comments or questions? Apparently not. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Great, thank you, Denise. Agenda item 6 is a resolution authorizing execution of an agreement with Liberty Plaza LLC for parking services. Chelsea Swaim will review this and sort of put it in context with our courthouse project because it's related a little to it, so.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. This item is to authorize the execution of a contract with Liberty Plaza LLC to provide parking spaces for the courthouse operations. By general statute, we're required to provide parking for jurors and then select courthouse staff. We have been doing this for the past few years. This contract is for 1 year, beginning July 1st through June 30th of 2022, for the not-to-exceed amount of $97,000. That's a slight decrease from the previous years because we were able to move some of the staff into our new parking deck, so we're no longer having to pay for those. And we've also heard from the court operations that they are going to slowly transition back into the jury trials, so they won't be calling as many jurors as they have in the past. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
I have a question. One of the things that was a problem at what is now the Justice Center, it involves the parking area. You know, we have a lot of parking spaces on the side of the building, and then there are parking spaces public in front of the building. And in some cases, if the assistant district attorney or the judge made a decision that might not agree with the family or with close friends, they would be followed out to their cars and put in danger because some of these people were mad. They were very upset. And they wanted to make sure these people understood it. And, you know, in situations like that, it could become tragic if you're not careful. So the question is, does this involve any security measures at all?
So Liberty Plaza parking deck, that's owned by a private entity, but in certain circumstances, I do know that the sheriff's office will escort families or staff, and they have done that if there's a threat that's been deemed.
Okay, thank you. Further questions, comments?
Yeah, the only thing I would want Chelsea to add is currently spaces that would be used long-term for this are actually the laydown area for construction for the courthouse. And so that's why we needed to carry the contract over, because you've got the spaces that will ultimately solve this problem
Yes, sir.
being used.
Good. Okay, thank you, Ms. Swaim.
Can I ask a quick question? Not on that, but on the previous, I just opened the attachments on the previous 3 or 4, and I did hear Randy talk about having obviously they shopped, or at least he had another bidder, but are we bidding those health department items? I did not see any like competition for the temporary services at the dental clinic, the whole HOLOGIC, Panther, whatever it is, and all those things. Do we bid those? Are there bidders on those things?
Here comes someone to make that answer.
For the dental clinic, because that's a specialty clinical service, there aren't any other providers in the area, which is why we're using the vendor.
HOLOGIC has also been vetted as a sole source agreement.
Oh, okay. So there's also.
Is HOLOGIC under state contract?
It is. It may be now. It wasn't last year. They've just switched over their instrumentation to HOLOGIC as well. But
Yeah,
previously
the issue
it was
is that we've got and stay there, Denise, make sure I don't tell them the story here, it's trying to get away. The system is a HOLOGIC system. So once you buy the system, you got to buy you're a little bit tied into the supplies.
correct. They're exclusive to the instrumentation, which is consistent in the industry.
I got it.
Yeah, thank you.
I didn't understand that piece.
Thank you, Denise. All right. If there's no other questions on that, agenda item 7 is a resolution selecting and authorizing execution of an agreement with DAVIE Construction Company to act as design builder and provide design and pre-construction services for the Public Safety Center upfit building. James, if you will talk just a little bit about the project and then talk about the recommendation.
Okay. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. So the project involves relocating the Sheriff's Office Administration Suite to vacant space on the 3rd floor of the Public Safety Center. And so this will clear out space for emergency management to expand into some existing office space, as well as allowing space for demolition and eventual upfit by the City of Winston-Salem for their communications center.
Any comments or questions?
So the agreement for the communication center move, Damon, you may want to talk a little bit about where we are with that. They will be paying rent into that facility. Yeah.
Sure. So I've been working with my counterpart at the city to come up with the agreement where the City's 911 would locate on the second floor, adjacent to the current fire 911 and the sheriff's office 911. We've made some corrections to it, sent it back to them. They're making some adjustments to it. So I just saw my counterpart today, and he's going to get back with me about the status of it, but it's moving right now and imminent.
Yep. And so we will be, so it's a little bit of a complicated project. We're moving the sheriff up to the third floor into space that had been, it's unused space that kind of wraps around the backside of the corrections probation parole. And it's heating, there's parts of it that have already been done. It's really more of a commercial upfit up there. The long-term goal has been to try to ultimately move at some point, it'd be great to get to a consolidated 911 center and have one PSAP in Forsyth County. So we've been in conversation for years about that. The city's not really prepared to do that, but they do need space for their 911 center. And along with that is some discussions about us picking up some of the fire dispatch piece and managing through that. And so Damon's been working on that. It's complicated, but the city really, we are close to an agreement because they really don't have any other real choices other than to consolidate into our facility. It's got the seismic supports that you got to have in a building that size for a 911 center. It's got the generation facility, so you offset a lot of costs there, and it's by far the cheapest alternative they have as far as moving into a facility. They were originally going to move it. It's in their public safety center now. They were going to move it down to the Beatty Center. That facility was not seismically appropriate, and it was going to cost way too much money. And so it's a great, it's a co-location, with the idea that at some point in time, it probably will make sense to do a full consolidation.
Just about makes sense now, I'll tell you the truth.
It's a lot more complicated than that. It's a lot more complicated than that. But the co-location is important, and we are on one system across both jurisdictions, so we all use the same CAD system. And so, it's a good project. And there'll be some revenue side to offset we will have less cost in that building because they'll offset our operating cost in that. So.
Well, it's probably not the day to talk about that complexity, but I actually thought we were merged. I get the 911, the call center, the 911 center. That would be an interesting discussion, but another day.
Yeah.
And while James is here, I do want to ask him one quick question. What is the bid schedule for Caladium and all that? So when is that happening?
So Caladium, Frank L. Bloom received bids at the end of May, and they're currently validating the low bids and are preparing their guaranteed maximum price to review with us. We expect to have that in the next couple weeks.
So it's like weeks off. It'd be great to get that moved along, but
Yeah.
because I guess that's going to push it off to our approval until July. So
And July's tough for us because we've got some breaks in our meeting schedule.
that's
so-
what I meant. It's going to
Yeah.
push that off.
Yeah,
If they've had it at the end of May, I can't imagine they can't come up with that.
I think there's,
But if they came up with it by next week, we could put it on the agenda for the 24th.
If we're on budget and don't have to go back and do any value engineering, that is the plan, to have it on the July meeting.
Yeah, at least the thinking was, well, the bidding climate has been just, obviously, we hit the sweet spot, I think, on the courthouse and its size, and clearly, Caladium's way smaller and a smaller project, and yeah, the competition may be a lot worse, but I think there's, the Caladium folks are expecting some coming in underbid, is I think is the expectation, and surely, I mean, Bloom knows now, from looking at the bids, they're validating, they know whether it's under budget or not. So it looks to me like that, I mean, it's not a mystery what the bids are.
Yeah, I'll say that we're close. Don't know exact numbers yet, but I do know that we're close.
Close, under, or over?
We're teetering on over right now.
That's a good question. You ought to watch Wesley Young from the Winston-Salem Journal. He's writing down that you're saying you're close. I can't wait to see.
No, well, that's important. I mean,
It is.
Yeah, I mean, it's just.
Yeah. Turned out very well. Glad you're here, James.
Okay, yeah, you want to go ahead and talk about your Davie recommendation?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So this item for Davie Construction is to select and award a contract for them to be the design builder for the public safety project. And we selected them through an RFQ process that was advertised by City County Purchasing. We did receive 3 responses to that RFQ. Davie Construction using Arc Studio 7, Frank L. Bloom using CJMW Architects, and I.L. Long using Walter Robbs, Callahan and Pierce Architects. All 3 firms were deemed qualified and invited to interview with the selection committee. The selection committee was comprised of general services staff, FCSO staff, representative from the manager's office, and also a representative from the city of Winston-Salem, since they may have some involvement in this project as well. After conducting the interviews, the selection committee identified Davie Construction as the most qualified firm for the project, and staff have negotiated a not-to-exceed fee for pre-construction services for $88,000. It's roughly 8% of the $1.1 million budget for the project, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions, comments?
And it's design build, so that includes design and construction and construction administration,
Is it good? So
all in at 88.
So how many square feet's in this $1.1 million? I mean, I'm picturing this space. How many square feet are we talking about?
10, isn't it?
It's about 10,000 square feet.
For $1 million? Is my arithmetic in my head right at $1,000 a square foot?
Hold on.
No.
No.
Yes, no. Here, hang on.
I don't think so.
No, we,
Got in trouble with my calculator yesterday. No, let me get out of here.
Hold on, we'll get there. I could just do it by marking
Yeah,
out
you got $1 million, you
zeros.
say it's
$100 a square foot.
$100 a square foot on the upfit. So it's 10,000 square feet in that piece.
right about 10,000, correct.
And that includes both upstairs and downstairs.
But it's commercial upfit. And there's not much work on the third, second floor.
Yeah, we're fortunate in the space that when we did the probation parole upfit, all of the MEP systems are there. So we're really just on the mechanical, electrical side, adding some light fixtures and some VAV boxes. So really minimal on the items that are usually really big ticket on the cost side.
Which building we talking about again?
The
Phillips building.
old Phillips building, which is now the Public Safety Center.
It's still even $100 a square foot. I'm just putting that in perspective. That's still pretty high. But never mind. Won't go there.
Any other questions for James? You did a good job. Thank you very much.
Thank you, James. Agenda item 8 is a resolution ratifying and authorizing execution of an interlocal agreement between Forsyth County and the Winston-Salem Forsyth County Board of Education for the provision of school resource officer deputy services. Major Mark Elliott with the Sheriff's Department is here to review this. Hey, Mark.
Major Mark. Fine.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm Major Mark Elliott. I'm one of the Enforcement Bureau Commanders of the Sheriff's Office. I supervise the School Resource Officer section as well as several other divisions at the agency. What we bring before you today is a resolution ratifying and authorizing the execution of this interlocal agreement. The attached resolution ratifies and authorizes execution of an interlocal agreement between Forsyth County on behalf of its Sheriff's Office and the Winston-Salem Forsyth County Board of Education for School Resource Officer Deputy Services for the year 2021 through 2022. Under this agreement, the Winston-Salem Forsyth County Schools will cover 100% of the estimated direct cost of 37 SRO positions. Following the same methodology used in past years, expenditures covered include 100% of the estimated salaries and benefits, including anticipated pay for performance increases and direct operating expenses, including vehicle operating expenses, body-worn cameras, uniforms, standard issued equipment, training, conferences, mobile phones and service, insurance premiums and claims, office supplies, memberships and dues, as well as any other operating supplies or costs. SRO deputies will continue using older vehicles that have been withdrawn from our frontline service. Therefore, no vehicle replacement cost will be charged. Overhead will also not be charged. The annual cost of this program, as well as the corresponding revenue from the Winston-Salem Forsyth County Schools, is $3,515,974. I'd like to say that we've had extensive conversation with our superintendent and the Winston-Salem Forsyth County Schools, security staff, as well as their finance section representation. This would complete the sheriff's vision in designing an entire division dedicated to school resource. Currently, right now, we have a school resource office section that is managed under the investigative services division. The sheriff's vision is to make it its own entity. We've never had that before. And by making it its own entity, we have a lot better span of control over our people based on the supervision that we are asking for, as well as the roving and the span of control, as well as the roving and built-in relief factors for folks that would be off on vacation or off that may have family emergencies. Currently, right now, we're holding on to what we have. But based on the numbers that we're asking for the span of control with supervision, this would give us relief factors that would also have a better span of control over each staff, which we're going to divide up into 3 squads. And we would also have a canine, which we have dedicated to the school system. So with all that, that is going to entail moving into this next school year, we're going to need it to be its own division, which would be superseded by me. I'm sorry, I would supervise that with a captain overseeing that division, making it its own division. So I'll entertain any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Elliott? Sounds like you've got a pretty good plan ahead of you.
Yes, sir, and it's the vision of the sheriff, it's his vision, and I appreciate your consideration in that.
Thank you for
sir.
coming in. Appreciate it very much.
All right. Agenda item 9 is a resolution authorizing execution of a lease and agreement between Forsyth County and Tanglewood Farm Incorporated for lease of county-owned property. Turn it over to Mike Anderson to review.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. The item I'm bringing for you today is a renewal of a lease agreement with Tanglewood Farm, Inc. This lease covers activities at Tanglewood Park that include horse boarding, trail rides, training, lessons, hay and carriage rides, and other horse-related events at the park. Some of the highlights of the financial terms in the lease is we receive 15% of the yearly gross above $60,000, $915 a month in rent, $20 a month in stalls rented, and 10% of the gross in hay and carriage rides. It is a 5-year lease. The only change from the previous lease is we have put some provisions for the future multi-event center that the lease could be modified to cover that center that we placed in that area. And that's the lease has a renewal privilege, and Tanglewood Farms has been a long-standing vendor at the park, and they have a desire to renew the lease. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Questions for Mr. Anderson?
At some point, those barns are gonna need some work.
We've been doing work over the last several years on them. Most of them, we put new roofs on. We've upgraded the siding on some of them. That we've been slowly doing that painting. We've been doing that over the course of a number of years.
Is the tenant responsible for any of those? Or is that
No, the county's responsible, since those are actually our facilities that we're on in the agreement. We're responsible for that aspect of it.
Additional questions?
I did notice that, I mean, I looked at the proposals, but the amounts of money, it's a pretty inexpensive lease. Is that sort of typical, and are there other, because the same group's been doing this for a long time, right?
Yeah, they've been doing it for quite a number of years, and that's pretty typical. We generate around, on an average over the last 4 or 5 years, if you look at the fiscal year, we generate around an average of $40,000 a year off of this lease. Some years better, some years a little bit less, but over the average of the last several years, that's what it's equated to.
Thank you, Mike. Sorry.
in response to Dr. Martin? I would say that this lease is somewhat favorable to the tenant. However, every time we put it out for bid previously, no responsible bidder shows up. So at least the services are there, the horses are there, the people are happy. Mike does a great job, all as well.
There's a pretty good capital investment between the livestock that they have and the things that they have involved in the operation too. And they have done an excellent job over the years, and we've gotten none but positive comments on them.
Okay, thank you.
Got it.
And there's no money in horses, by the way. So if you ever want to
Tell my daughter that.
That's right. Yeah.
Only money horses.
We'll talk offline about all that. Trust me, there's no money in horse anyway. All right, so the next part of this is the Chelsea Swaim show, because she's got the next 5 or 6 items. So I'll ask Chelsea to come up. I'll just introduce them, and then she can give you the spiel on them. Items 10 and 11 are really related. They are resolutions authorizing the grant and execution of license agreements to certain folks who live out at Blues Lake. So I'll turn it over.
Yes, sir. So both of these items, as the county manager stated, are non-exclusive license agreements for neighboring property owners at Blues Lake. They neighbor the property that Forsyth County is under contract to purchase. And the agreement for Craig Road is with Edward and Marie Spain, and that is for their use of a chain link fence that is partially onto the property that the county is going to buy. And the second license agreement is with Timothy Wayne Hairston for use of a driveway that crosses a portion of the property that the county is going to buy. Both of these licenses are non-exclusive and non-transferable, and they become effective when the county closes on the purchase of the property. And the county can revoke these by providing notice to either party, either the Mr. Hairston or the Spains. And both Mr. Hairston and the Spains are responsible for maintenance of the chain link fence or the driveway. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions?
These are somewhat good neighbor sort of actions we're taking in anticipation of buying that property.
That's good.
They've not been the ones that call them.
They haven't, partly because of this, actually, so I don't think so. All right, item 12 is a resolution authorizing execution of a use agreement between Forsyth County and the Winston-Salem Forsyth County Board of Education for use of county-owned property located at 3740 North Liberty Street.
This item is to authorize the execution of a lease agreement with the school system for a portion of the warehouse space located at 3740 North Liberty Street. The school system came to us, they just need a little bit of space to store some items temporarily while they deploy their new textbooks. So this is just for a term of 9 months, June 1 of this year through February 28th of 2022, and there's no fee associated for it. And again, they just need a little bit of space so that they can store some items that they don't use very frequently so that they can deploy the new textbooks out of their facility.
Questions, comments? Okay.
All right, and then the last 2 items are resolutions accepting the highest bid to purchase county-owned real property by negotiated advertisement and upset bid.
Thank you. So on May 6th of this year, you all approved to publish 2 offers to purchase surplus property. Alpha and Omega Investments LLC had submitted an offer to purchase 0 Kevin Drive, and Curtis Cazo submitted an offer to purchase 0 Sheraton Street. And both of those offers were advertised for the 10 days per general statute, and the clerk did not receive any upset bids. So the recommendation is to accept the offer of $5,000 from Alpha and Omega Investments for 0 Kevin Drive, and then also to accept the offer of $7,950 from Curtis Cazo for 0 Sheraton Street. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions, comments? Okay, thank you, Ms. Swain.
Thank you.
All right. You have a bunch of appointments that will close
June 16th.
June 16th. And so if you know folks who are interested in serving on any of these boards, please let them know, and we'll hopefully get Todd to get them advertised as well, even more than they already have been. And then the last item is a report. You got the North Carolina Community College Capital Improvement Project approval for construction of the Learning Commons at Forsyth Technical Community College. As you know, the state building group that does all state construction, I think it's called the State Construction Office, requires that counties sign a document saying that we know that a community college capital project's underway, and that we will pick up the maintenance. At some point in time, some board probably said, well, we didn't approve it, we're not going to pay for the maintenance, and so they want us to go ahead and affirm that we're going to not only build it, but we're going to do the maintenance as well. So there's a little stipulation there, and I always like to give those to the board. We've signed the document that got State Construction Office doing their thing, but I did want y'all to know that we have signed that, and that that project will be underway. So, and that is all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, any comments or any further comments before we adjourn?
Could I say one thing?
Yes, ma'am.
I had the pleasure this morning of watching Chantel be recognized as the outstanding businesswoman. So it was just a pleasure to see her. There were 25 women, and she was one of them, and I'd like to give her a hand.
There she is, on television. They look good. Congratulations, Chantel, good job. Any further comments, or if not, do I hear something from Commissioner Kaplan? He moves we adjourn. I'll second the motion. We're adjourned.